You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Dirk Verbeuren from Megadeth, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome Dirk Verbeuren, drummer of the mighty Megadeth. It's been 6 years since metal icons Megadeth released their album Dystopia, and now the wait is over as they are ready to release their highly anticipated 16th studio album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, via UME on September 2nd. Also, check out Megadeth's new single, Soldier On, and previous singles will be back. Chapter 1, Night Stalkers. Chapter 2, featuring Ice-T, and The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. So, Dirk, glad to have you on here, man, and let's jump right into this bad boy.
Thanks, John.
This is the band's 16th studio album. For you being part of this album, how special is it to see this band still going strong and adding another album to the Megadeth music library? And I know, like I said, this is your first time being on this on recording, but how does it feel to be part of this special unit?
It's an incredible feeling, man. Megadeth is such a unique band in the history of music. I think it's kind of immeasurable what Dave and his acolytes brought to the thrash and speed metal scene and the metal scene in general. And so to be able to be a part of that and contribute music to that and all those beautiful things is a wonderful feeling. I'm very proud of what we accomplished together. I think The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead will, please metal fans and Megadeth fans all across the board. And I can't wait for people to hear it.
How excited are you guys to get this beast out? I mean, I know you have to be itching at the bit to say, let's get it out now, but how excited are you guys to get this out so far?
Super excited, man. We had to push it back, of course, because of the pandemic. Like a lot of people, things were paused for a while, and so we had to sit on it. But in the end, it's all for the best because we're here now. The singles have been getting amazing reception. Now we're going to be hitting the road very soon. We're actually leaving this coming week to tour here in North America, and we'll be playing some new material live. So I'm very excited about that. I think people are going to love it.
Man, it amazes me to see other musicians that James LoMenzo's worked with, like, John Fogerty and David Lee Roth and White Lion. Now James is back with the mighty Megadeth, which he had a stint in the band previously. But how's the chemistry adding James with everyone? And was it pretty easy for him to transition back into everything with Megadeth?
It was, man. I think, a little bit of rehearsing and all the songs came back to him very fast. And of course, he's a seasoned vet in this music scene. And, like you said, he's had experience in many, many different bands working with different artists. And of course, being part of Megadeth from 2006 to 2010, if I'm correct. So it was smooth, very easy. Playing with him is easy. He's a great guy to be around. And it was just, no hiccups at all.
I got to know, though, man, since this is your first time on a recording with Megadeth, were you kind of nervous coming into this? Do you have any tensions going on? If so, and how was working with Dave on this first time as you guys a drummer with on this recording?
I was slightly nervous, but at the same time, I did have the benefit of touring with a band for 3 years before we started working on new material. So at that point, I felt quite familiar with everything and with how Dave proceeds to work on stuff. And once we got together, it was all pretty much smooth sailing, getting creative, having fun, just trying to write the best songs we possibly could, And I learned a lot because Dave is a brilliant composer, but also a brilliant arranger and somebody who just has this very unique take, like I said earlier, on this kind of music. And to kind of see how he pieced things together and be a witness to all that stuff and also participate in it, I feel like I really grew as a musician and also grew into the band. I grew up being a fan of the band, so I want Megadeth fans to get what they want out of my contributions as well.
From the last three songs that's been released, it's clear the band is still staying true to the old vintage Megadeth sound, but there now is modern day sounds in it as well. But how crucial was it to still stay true to that Megadeth sound, but add that modern day twist in these songs?
Well, I think a lot of the old school sound comes from production limitations at the time as well. Of course, there's an age difference too, but I think production techniques have gotten so much better nowadays and people are used to those kinds of recordings, where everything is very loud and clear and precise. And so, of course, that's not something we're going to go back on and, sound like a cheap recording from the 80s or whatever. But at the same time, I think those elements from back in the day when Megadeth started are always going to be there because that was Dave's vision from the beginning and he's stuck with it. And myself, I grew up listening to those early records, so I was very keen on bringing some of that energy to the band. Kind of the intensity and kind of the chomping at the bit kind of energy that you can hear on those early records. I think that's a lot of what makes this kind of music so great.
And there's no 2-inch tape no more, so we don't have to worry about cutting and going back in, and it's all just digital and go ahead and go on. So
yeah, but you got to be careful not to abuse that too. I did a lot of full takes in the studio, like wherever possible. I played full versions of the songs, because I think there's an energy there and there's a feeling there that like it's hard to replicate if you start cutting things up too much.
Do you feel this is some of Dave's strongest songwriting yet? Do you feel like this is some of his best work till up to this point?
Probably. It's a big catalog and there are a lot of things in there, and I think Dave's written a lot of brilliant songs over the years. But I do think The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead is very solid from start to finish. I don't think there's any bad songs on there or any filler songs. You'll see, when you hear the full record in its entirety, it's quite a voyage. And I do think there was a lot of inspiration happening. And, the four of us together just kind of gel, and you can feel that when you hear the record.
I'm so excited that this is coming out. And I'm so excited that Megadeth is still around and still having that longevity still. I mean, still is irrelevant to this day because so many bands, they just like fathom out. I mean, they just like falter out and it's like, what happened? You know what I mean? But you got to still going strong. Yeah,
man. The fire is still there. What can I say? Every band is going to have its ups and downs, but I think Megadeth is so special. And I think Dave just lives for this kind of music and he lives to be on the stage and sharing this music with his fans. So there's no way he's going to give it up. I mean, man, he went through throat cancer while we were writing this record. Yeah. And even while he was doing those treatments, he was still showing up every day working with us. And that's a testament to how much Dave believes in his band and feels this music inside, and wants to have it. And I think, Megadeth is always going to be around in some shape or another until, he's not around, because I think it's just who he is.
Exactly, my friend. Dirk, what led the song We'll Be Back to be the first track released off this upcoming album, man? What was it about that track that said, that's got to be the one that comes out swinging for us?
Well, it's a very high energy track. It's got a lot of that old school thrash feel to it. I think it's one of the tracks that we were all very proud of. And so when it came to choosing a single, we wanted to kick the door in with a big bang. And I think that's exactly what happened.
So writing the new album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, did you guys feel a little pressure to outdo Dystopia or just make that vintage Megadeth album and just go on?
There was a sense of, Dystopia was very well loved by Megadeth fans across the globe. And obviously the song Dystopia won a Grammy. We toured quite successfully. So there was definitely a sense of it has to live up to that. But I think deep inside, we also knew that, the next one, which is The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, was going to be even better because whenever you're on a good trajectory, like the band has been over the past, 6-7 years, you just got to stick with that. You just got to kind of feel that, let it feed you and see where it takes you. And that's what we did. It was very important for us to be able to express ourselves in the studio with some freedom. And that's what I love about Dave too, is that he's not, some kind of tyrant like some people like to make him out to be. On the contrary, he encouraged all of us to contribute music, to try different things. There was a lot of experimenting while we were working on these songs. And at the end of the day, we trusted in ourselves. And I think that really shows when you hear the record.
So I got to know this, man. When you're in the recording studio and you're watching Dave and everybody do their stuff, what gets him and you guys the most excited about it? What's something that shocks you about Dave when you see him working on these new songs and new riffs and everything?
It's just cool to see him get excited about a guitar riff or a drum fill or something like that. You know, when he just gets really giddy because he hears something that he's just like, oh man, that's killer. You know, it's like that feeling you have as a kid when you hear a Megadeth album for the first time or something, or a Megadeth song, you know what I mean? Like, that's still there, you know, not just for Dave, but for all of us. I think we're so passionate about music. And so when those moments happen, it's pretty special.
Has the pandemic helped the band to be more creative on this album, you think, Dirk, since you guys had that extra time to put in the work on this one?
I don't know. I mean, I do know that, you know, a lot of the work that we did on the album was done before the pandemic. We even did a tour in Europe, also with Five Finger Death Punch, like the one we're about to do here in the US. And we came home from that just a week before everything shut down. And at that point, you know, a lot of the stuff had been recorded. So when the pandemic hit, I mean, you know, of course, we still have to go to the studio and do the actual takes, but a lot of the songwriting was done by that time, you know, so a lot of the ideas were there. And I think if anything, the extra time that we had was beneficial maybe to finalizing some arrangements and, you know, adding some ear candy, like Dave likes to say, but the bulk of it was done.
I got to know this. Are these all brand new songs or songs that didn't make the last album, Dystopia, or are these some songs that's been left in the vault possibly?
No, they're all brand new and all written from scratch. There are no leftovers from Dystopia that, you know, were worked on. I will say that since a lot of this stuff started with Guitarist, you know, we went through Dave's vault of riffs, which goes all the way back to his beginnings, you know, when he was a wee lad picking up the guitar, you know.
Jeez.
And so it's possible that that some of those riffs, you know, might be from the 80s or the 90s. I'm not exactly sure. But as far as full songs go, no, they were all put together with this current lineup.
Was there any tracks that didn't make this album, though, Dirk, that we're going to see on another album or another, possibly an EP from you guys? Was there any song that didn't make this album at all, possibly?
Not completed songs, no. We did record 4 or 5 basic tracks, but those songs ended up not being completed this time around because you know, we just felt that the ones that are currently on the album are the strongest together, and so those were the ones we focused all our energy on. Plus the Sammy Hagar cover, This Planet's on Fire, and the Dead Kennedys cover, Police Truck. So that's really all we focused on at a given point. So I don't know what's going to happen with those other tracks. If we will maybe revisit them and rework them at some point. You know, it's too early to tell right now. The focus is just going to be on this one.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on this new album? And I know there's got to be some that you dig a lot, but are there any that stand out for you personally, possibly? Man, yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite, but I'm extremely proud of the song Life in Hell, which is a song I co-wrote together with Dave. It's the second song on the album, and it really has that old school speed metal vibe that I grew up listening to myself. So I'm really proud to have contributed to that one. And yeah, I can't wait for people to hear it. Was there a track on the album that you guys are working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to? Was there one that just kept changing for you guys, possibly?
There were a few, you know, because it's always a journey songwriting together. And sometimes you'll try stuff and then let it sit for a while and get back to it and then realize, maybe this could be different or this could be better. So certain songs kind of came together quickly, and then other songs, you know, took a little bit longer to kind of flesh them out. There's none in particular that stands out as having a complete overhaul or anything like that. But you got to understand that, you know, when you're writing this kind of music, it's really about taking your time with it. If you rush it, it's not going to end up, you know, being as good as you want it to be. So it's really important to sit with it, you know, let it sink in a little bit and then revisit it again. So we did that a number of times with a number of these songs. And, you know, I think for the benefit of the record in the end, for sure.
The album was produced by Chris Reckestraw. How was working with him? Because I know he's worked a few times with Megadeth, but how was working with him on this album?
Chris is great, man. You know, him and Dave co-produced the album. Chris has had a lot of experience with the band. He's toured with us multiple times, helping out with things, and he's just a very seasoned producer and also engineer, because a lot of working on this record and doing the pre-production, which is probably one of the longest periods of time, was us sitting together and writing these songs. It requires somebody to be there to kind of oversee the whole process, to keep everything organized, and also to lead us back in the right track when we're getting a little bit lost, which can happen sometimes. And so Chris is amazing for that. He is somebody who, you kind of got to be a little bit of a psychologist to be a producer, a good producer. And he certainly is that, understanding everybody and kind of getting us together if we're getting off the track, and just also having a good global overview of what the album's going to be. That's extremely important, because when you're so in it like we were, sometimes you lose a little bit of perspective. So it was wonderful working with him.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourself since joining Megadeth and working on this new album? Man, have you seen anything from yourself that's grown that's kind of like, yeah, I can add this to my repertoire now?
I've learned a lot, man. I mean, it's a different level than anything I've done before, whether it's the stage production, whether it's just everything that surrounds the band, working on the music. I've learned so much. And, that's the beautiful thing about doing this, is that you keep growing as you evolve. And for me, a lot of my approach used to be pretty busy behind the drums. With Megadeth, I think, even though it's not the first time, I had to play more sparsely, but it's definitely, the biggest project where I'd had to do that, and I've spent more time doing it. So I think I'm learning to drum more for the song in this kind of music, rather than showing off my skills like every other bar, So as a drummer personally, I feel like that's one of the biggest growths I've had.
What do you hope everyone takes away while listening to this new album once it comes out, sir? What do you hope they get from this when they start to listen and digest this new Megadeth album?
I just hope they have a blast. That's really the best you can hope for, that Megadeth fans feel fulfilled, that they feel like it's a special record, that they feel like, wow, like the band has outdone themselves once again. They're still here. They're still, showing the world how thrash metal is done. And hopefully it'll motivate people to come see us live, because that's where it's all at, man. It's at the shows, it's that energy that you can only get when the band's on stage and the crowd is there and we're all having a great night together. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most, touring the world and for people to have a good time with us.
I know you've been doing this for a very long time, Dirk, but what's been your most memorable show or moment as a musician that you still can't believe that you're a part of, or actually saw maybe?
Playing Madison Square Garden in New York was pretty surreal. We did that in 2018, I believe it was. And yeah, that's such a legendary place. Same thing with the Forum in LA, which we also did on the same tour. I mean, those are some venues that, they're just legendary places that you go and see major artists at, and then one day you're on that stage yourself. It's like, wow, I can't believe I'm here doing this.
You've been playing drums since the age of 15 years old, man. Has the journey of being a musician met your expectations and then some so far, or no?
Definitely, and then some. I think it's exceeded them, because when I was 15, I had no idea I would be here talking to you today about being in Megadeth. And, just the whole life journey, I've learned so many different things. I've grown so much as a human being and as a musician. And throughout everything I've been through, the ups and downs, my passion for music is still intact and still going strong. And I'm still super motivated to be doing this and to work my ass off for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just been an incredible time, man. That's all I can say.
I couldn't even imagine, man. It'd be a whirlwind. I couldn't even imagine what you're going through, but congratulations, because you deserve to be part of this Megadeth group. That's for sure. You're a hell of a drummer.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up Megadeth's 16th studio album, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead via UME on September 2nd. I'm telling you, folks, Megadeth still deserves their spot here, because they still can bring it to the table, and I'm still glad they're around. I'm not saying it just because Dirk's on here. I've been a huge fan since I was a wee little bitty bod. So yeah, and I'm just gonna say this too, man, since I got you on here. I watched Grass Pop, and I loved hearing your version of the Holy Wars when you're playing drums.
Oh,
good.
Thank you.
So damn good, man. Tight, really tight.
Thank you.
On that. So kudos to you. So before I let you go, Dirk, would you care to do a promo for my show?
I'd be happy to, John. Hey, this is Dirk Verbeuren from Megadeth, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out, check out our Facebook page. There's a podcast link and our YouTube link, and subscribe to the YouTube link and click the notification bell because I need all subscriptions I can get. And because we got a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe. And please get out and check out Megadeth's 16th studio album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, and plus all their other stuff that's in their catalog. You won't be disappointed. And this album's easy to pick up. You can go to Megadeth.com, pick it up there. You can pre-order it right now too still. Is that correct, Dirk?
That is correct.
Yeah, so you can pre-order it right now, folks. Pick it up. I'll have all these links in this interview when I post it. And this is awesome. Thank you, Dirk, so much. And the best of luck to you guys still here on out.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for having me. And cheers. Thanks for supporting metal.
Oh, no problem whatsoever.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.